Welcome to this news hour on Equinoxe television, live from my headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. In this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime news hour on Equinoxe television, we're going to show you the desolate picture of Oku in the Bui division, northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. The locality was stormed by tens of gunmen who set ablaze several shops or sections of the locality's market and attacked the council of the locality and the residents of the mayor of that part of the country. And in the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon, girls and women are saying they are being constantly raped by ex-militants of the Nigerian terrorist sect Boko Haram. They are sending a distress call to the Yaoundé administration. Those were our top stories. Calm is yet to return to Oku in the Bui division in the crisis-stricken northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon after gunmen stormed the locality. Tens of them stormed the locality, setting ablaze sections of the market and attacking the council building and the residents of the mayor of that administrative unit. For me, Armstrong Sander has more.
Oku subdivision of the Bui division, northwest region of Cameroon, invaded by gunmen. According to local sources, the attack on Monday, August the 23rd, 2021 began at the Oku main market as tens of gunmen stormed the area, targeting and burning over 50 market sheds, shops and vehicles. Panic-stricken, the population and traders took cover as the gunmen held the town hostage, went on rampage for hours and burning. Unofficial sources have linked the attack to a fraction of armed separatist fighters led by self-styled General No Pity. Apart from the main market, the gunmen stormed the Oku Council and the mayor's residence in a burning spree.
And insecurity in the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon is bringing untold pains and suffering on young girls and women in the locality of Mary. Many of them say they are being constantly raped by ex-fighters of the Nigerian terrorist sect Boko Haram, and many of them are fleeing the locality for safety. They are sending distress calls to the Yaoundé administration. Details with Innocent.
The reintegration of ex-Boko Haram fighters in the society, according to some locals in Meri subdivision, Jamare division of the far north region, is giving birth to another social ill with the vulnerable group of persons, being young girls and women. Rape of women by the repentant Boko Haram fighters is now recurrent in Meri.
They are everywhere in the neighborhood. You can't freely walk around because they will get after you and have you raped. Some of them went to a nearby village and raped a woman to death.
This is confirmed by the Meri youth president. One of the rape victims says, despite their cries and pleas for intervention of authorities, no one seems to care.
We complain daily, but the authorities give a deaf ear. We even talk to the Lamido and Lawa, but no action is taken. We live in total fear. We beg government to see into this rising phenomenon. We also beg government to create camps for the repentant Boko Haram fighters so that we can live in peace.
According to a personnel of the Meri DDR Center, he went finding out and no one reported or admitted any rape case. Upon instruction of the Secretary General of the Meri Center, I sampled many women here, but no one admitted she was raped.
Ouais, je me suis renseigné partout ici là, ils me disaient non.
This personnel asks the ex-Boko Haram fighters go out and work in farms of the locals and return in the center without harassing or raping the women.
Des fois, ils font leur travail et l'argent reste même chez eux là, et c'est après qu'ils récupèrent.
A local refused this, saying,
Maintenant, je marche de porte à porte.
I am a widow with 3 children. I work in my farm and the ex-Boko Haram fighters come and harvest. Some help to farm and during harvest they return and steal. They even defecate in the farm, exposing us to illnesses like cholera and so on.
Différentes maladies telles que le choléra, etc.
On his part, the president in charge of youth affairs in Meri says an atmosphere of fear exists between youth and the repentant combatants.
Pendant les récoltes, souvent ils violent nos femmes, ils violent nos filles.
These rape victims implore government officials to come to their aid before they run away for peace in strange places.
Cameroon and Nigeria agreed to use updated security measures to fight cross-border and internal security challenges in both countries, and it is one of the outcomes of the 8th session of the Cameroon-Nigeria Trans-Border Security Committee Security holding in the Nigerian capital Abuja. During the meeting, Nigerian authorities reiterated the support of Buhari's country to Cameroon in view of helping her fight the secession war in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Nigeria says it is standing behind Cameroon in order to help the country of President Paul Biya to put an end to the killings, destructions, and atrocities, all atrocities being committed in the northwest and southwest regions in the Anglophone crisis that has been pulling on for close to 5 years today. And both parties also agreed to upgrade the socio-economic situation of border localities in order to reduce the vulnerability of inhabitants of those localities. And the meeting is chaired by Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration Atanganji Paul and Nigeria's National Security Advisor General Babagana Monguno. And now to Yaoundé, in the central region of the Republic of Cameroon. A Nigerian woman and children are said to be agonizing in that part of the country following the abuse of her children by her husband, and the children of age 5, 7 and 1 are said to have been sexually abused by the man several times. Details with Fomi and Rosanda.
The cry and pains of a Nigerian woman betrayed and abandoned in Yaoundé, Cameroon. Igwe Chinyere Priska from Ilita Boha village, Imo State in the Federal Republic of Nigeria was promised marriage and brought to Cameroon by a certain Mr. Igwe Francis, now detained for sexually abusing her children while she was pregnant for him.
So the children didn't tell me that when I now recover, that I now take them to hospital. Find out that it's true.
The hospital did not only confirm that the kids were being sexually abused, but also established that her children have been infected.
Since I noticed that he had been doing it, then I now asked him. He refused that he is not the one, but my children continue saying that he is the one. Then I now took them to hospital. They now confirmed that I'm already raping these children for long. I didn't know. The children have infection with discharge.
But when did Priska's husband turn to her children?
Because when I was pregnant, he now carried my daughter and sit behind him. When he was coming, he was shocked. Since then, I now asked my daughter. My daughter said she have been sleeping with him. Since that time, he took us to Nigeria.
Confirming to Equinoxe television, one of the kids said,
"She take our nonsense food for my bonbon every day."
Feeling the heat and increasing pressure, Francis Igwe confiscated the wife's phone, deleted all her family contact numbers before handing over her mobile SIM card.
That I will not inform anybody from Nigeria.
Alerted by neighbors and the landlord, Francis Igwe was immediately arrested by security officials for questioning, an arrest that apparently angered members of the Nigerian Union in Yaoundé, who surprisingly have turned their backs on the abused mother and her children.
No, it's the Nigerian people that came there that are still saying the same thing. Why should I let Cameroonians know? I should have done it only for Nigeria. They told me that I should keep quiet. Understand? When they will have meeting on Tuesday, then I will come and report there. Then I now went there on that Tuesday. They were abusing me that I'm lying, this, that. They'll just talk such of names. Then later, yesterday, they now took me to that court. They said I should go there and lie so that they will bring me out and give me money to go to Nigeria.
Neighbors say Igwe Chinyere Priska and children are helpless, trapped in Yaoundé and abandoned to themselves, with their continuous safety uncertain.
2 persons allegedly involved in the production of fake American dollar banknotes have been arrested in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. They were arrested by the police in the Douala 5 subdivision. Manchikan Gebre files in details.
5 trunks filled with dollars, rubber bullets, an automatic pistol, and cartridges alongside the sum of 1,400,000 francs CFA were the items seized by security forces in a night operation at the Lokpom neighborhood in the Douala 5 subdivision. The trunk that contained the dollars belonged to a businessman who at the time of this raid had already returned to Belgium.
Il y a un monsieur qui m'a abordé parce qu'il savait qui j'étais et
a man met me since he already knew who I was. My friends introduced me to him. He told me that he was a businessman who lives in Belgium and wants to invest in Cameroon. I naively fell for him, even though I didn't know what he was doing. It's close to 8 months that he has been duping me, using my credit card to pay hotel bills and sending mobile numbers through which I deposit money back in the country.
Il me prend les sous. Il utilise ma carte de crédit, me fait payer des hôtels, il me donne des numéros Orange Money.
It was through an informant that the elements of the anti-gang unit at the judicial police station descended to the residence where they uncovered the business that has been going on. An informant told us about an unclean business taking place in this house. After a thorough study, we descended to the place where we arrested 2 persons, seized an automatic pistol, 5 trunks filled with money, and 1,000,000 francs CFA.
Là, on continue la perquisition. Nous avons donc saisi les 5 caisses que vous avez vues là, les 5 caisses de faux dollars, et le reste des caisses, c'est 18 caisses vides.
Even though the man suspected to be involved in the business was not around, security forces caught 2 persons who were found in the house at the time of the raid, while the night watchman escaped. 2 police hillocks were later called up to take away the 18 empty trunks and 5 trunks filled with dollars. Investigations is on course to track down the said business operator, who is currently in Belgium.
Some lawyers, members of the Cameroon Bar Association, are decrying illegality at the helm of the association. They say the mandates of the current leaders of the Cameroon Bar had expired months ago, but nothing has neither been said nor done about it. Immaculate Fogwe reports.
A group of lawyers have signed a petition calling for the convening of an extraordinary General Assembly of the Cameroon Bar Council. According to them, there are pressing issues such as the vacant position of the presidency for the demise of the former bar president Barrister Chakunte Patier, which needs to be addressed. The petition adds that Barrister Tangana Bikuna Claire, who was designated interim bar council president because of her seniority, was supposed to complete the mandate of the deceased and had the obligation to organize elections within a period of 1 month. 8 months later, the position is still vacant. The group of lawyers expressed disappointment given that the President of the General Assembly of the Cameroon Bar Association is now relying on press releases to justify why the General Assembly has not been convened. They are revendicating that the Assembly be held within the month of November.
And we talked to one of the lawyers, Barrister Tamfu Richard. This is what he told us. Take a listen.
The petition that we signed on the 19th of August 2021 was a way of provoking the convocation of the elective General Assembly, because you remind that our bar president passed sometime around October 2020, just a few months before the expiry of his mandate, and since then there is an interim at the bar, and we are crossing a period of vacancy where the laws organizing practice at the bar and our internal rules and regulations are not being observed. So the more reason that we thought it wise that it was high time that we lawyers will first of all respect our law before going to the courts to plead that the law should be respected. So the President of the General Assembly was supposed to convene this General Assembly sometime around May, according to our internal rules and regulations, but he failed to do so for reasons best known to him. And we are seeing that November is coming, and for fear of that we continue to pursue in this illegality, we decided to raise or provoked this convocation of the elective General Assembly. So it is done in the interest of the bar, and it is done with respect to the provisions that organize practice at the bar and our internal rules and regulations.
Barrister Tamfu Richard, member of the Cameroon and Nigerian Bar Associations. Coming up next, Talking Point. Our guest today is a veteran journalist. Jato Richard is coming to us all the way from the northwest region of the country. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Babila, and thanks to our viewers of Equinoxe.
You work with Radio Hot Cocoa in Bamenda, and you are the Public Relations Officer of the Cameroon Association of English-Speaking Journalists, CAMASEARCH. Now, you're from the northwest region. What's the state of affairs there?
Well, it's very sad, Babila. It's sad, especially, you know, with the recent roadblocks in some parts of the divisions of the northwest region. Then of late, you know, the killing of Christian in church in Bali and the shooting, you know, of the pastor during preaching in church. Those are the things that paint, you know, the northwest region very dark with regards to the image, you know, of a region that had been very beautiful, admired by several persons, hardworking people. Today, when you talk of the northwest, when I came down to Douala, every other person around me who knows I'm from the northwest, you know, look at me from a very different perspective. It's a gloomy situation. It's really dark out there in the region. Babila Jonathan.
And earlier in this newscast, we were presenting a desolated, devastated picture of Oku in the Bui division in the northwest region of the country, of course, where some tens of armed men stormed the locality and set fire on several buildings and market sheds.
Yeah, you know, the first thing is that any act of destruction is condemnable, whether by whoever. You know, once you destroy, that is condemnable. Destruction is something that no other person would want to, you know, applaud in life. And of course, before I get to all of those scenarios, Babila, I think it's very important, to state, because this is a fact, that the government of the Republic of Cameroon have ratified a lot of treaties, conventions, and of course the Universal Declaration of Rights, you know, by the United Nations organization is one of those instruments that the governments of various countries who are signatories to should be the custodians of the rights of people, you know, with regards to housing, healthcare, movement, education, right to food and all the like. So this is first of all the fundamental principle that we have to put it straight. It's true that so many actors in the conflict in the northwest region are doing a lot of harm on the population, and the population can look barely on government, particularly the population has the government, you know, to look up to, mindful of the fact that the government has the responsibility and the legitimacy, you know, with regards to governing the people. This is where the facts are, you know, that the population first of all depends on the government for something to be done for all of this to come to an end. Then on the other hand, you talked about the burning of the councils in Oku and all the like. Those who carried out that act, you know, of burning the councils in Oku and the terror that reigned, you know, with the images that you saw, must first of all understand that the population in Oku, those children who were born yesterday, those kids who would be born tomorrow, have a right to identification. For example, birth certificates, you know, to have nationality. And where do they go to? These are some of the fundamental questions we have to ask. And so you discover that...
And those are some of the things that amount to a very serious and severe attack on human rights.
I mean, two of us, Jonathan, we have been in so many human rights training, you know, with the United Nations and other organizations, especially with regards to right of people. These are fundamental rights violation. And of course, those who are doing it probably may be doing it with some ignorance, you know, of the impact it would have on children who are born, especially in Oku, and who may have, you know, to be documented as Cameroonians with the nationality of the country. What about even marriages? You know, women, young boys and girls who need to contract, you know, their weddings and have some legitimacy in their household, which is a security guaranteed for the future to the children, you know, with regards to parental legality. These are the kind of rights that are being violated. But I think it's important to also state that the warring factions, that is the government's military and the separatist fighters, all of them are preaching to the population that all what they are doing is in the interest, you know, of the population.
At the same time, the same population are suffering.
Yes,
suffering the consequences.
None of them have showed for the past 5 years, you know, in all what is happening, that what they are doing is benefiting the population. Perhaps they are doing it with the mindset that they are doing it for the interest of the population. That is why it is important now to state that both parties should withdraw from the population. They should stop fighting and let's see whether the population would suffer, because the shooting, killing around church, burning of houses, arbitrary killings, arrests and all the like, all of this is not helping the population. So it's time for stock taking, that they should ask themselves, 5 years have gone down the rail, what is the result of all the efforts we, the militia, the military, we, the separatist fighters, what have we actually achieved? This is the question. And they must also factor in the interest and collaboration of the population. Is this time for them to go back to the population and ask a way forward? That is the point. Others will argue that it's a war situation. The objective of a war should be for the enhancement of the better living of the people. And if war...
And that is just the contrary that we are observing today, with several roads linking the regional capital from different divisions blocked today, and ghost town and so on, and people suffering because of all of these things.
Yes, and so it helps, and it's important, Babila, because a lot of things are not said, to really analyze that the population is already getting very, very tired, you know, with what is happening. It's true, the government says the population should collaborate with the military, and then the separatist fighters are expecting, you know, some collaboration by the population that they identify with, because this has to do with a problem of marginalization that has existed. That is a fact nobody can deny, because government accepted and then made some efforts, you know, efforts that were peculiar with government's orientation, but that wasn't accepted by, you know, those who are fighting to bring a solution to this crisis. But you have to understand that at the level where we are now, there must be some stock taking, that so far how far we have gone. And there's been a lot of communication, you know, on Equinoxe, on canal, many television channels, on radio stations, newspapers. There have been a lot of debate, people talking a lot about this crisis. So the question is the problem with the separatists and the military that are fighting, that they are not listening to people, or is it that those of us who are talking are not actually saying it the way it's supposed to be talked? Because for 5 years, the same communication, no impact, more killings. Imagine the roads in Bali, the road in Fundong, the road in the block, and a mother who is very sick in the night at around 11 o'clock needs to get to Bamenda to the hospital. What do you do with such a lady? No bikes, no cars. I mean, the darkness has fright. Food. You saw banana last time on the street. You imagine vegetable, huckleberry. When it grows after 2-3 weeks, women in Kumbu, in Dobamising, who are working vegetable will tell you that it grows and there will be seeds that will develop and make the vegetable stem strong that you can no longer eat. Bananas are growing and getting ripe in farms. Cassava in the ground that has been worked have grown wild and is becoming something that's poisonous. You can't harvest. You know these crops I'm talking about.
The consequences are quite enormous, especially on the population, and we are wrapping up. We have exhausted our time. Meanwhile, in the far north region of the country, notably in Mary, young women, young girls are also suffering the consequences of insecurity, rape, and so on.
It's excessively so nasty. So at this level, Babila, to end up, I would like to not make again ultimatum, no warn or whatsoever, but to plead that all fighters should sit back home and ask that if their children were in these circumstances, if their wives, their mothers were in those circumstances where the population is going through serious humanitarian crisis plus human rights violations of all categories, what would you do if your relative were in that context? Those are the questions the fighters and the military should ask themselves. As I thank you for the opportunity given.
Thanks a bunch. Jato Richard, veteran journalist coming to us from the northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, reporter with Hot Cocoa, a radio station in Bamenda, and of course, public relations officer of the Cameroon English-Speaking Journalists Association. Thank you for your time. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. And let me announce to you that coming up in the Equinoxe SWA, illegality in the Electoral Board of Elections, Cameroon, over 14 members who have been functioning, who have been in office in illegality for over 4 months after they were appointed by presidential decree on the 27th of April 2017. Their mandate expired in April 2021, but till now, the head of state has said nothing about this. Coming up in Equinoxe, the guests of Serge Alonto will be analyzing these issues. Coming up right away from the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, La Presse, the dispute with Gizogo. Stay with us. Bye-bye.